Terrarian in the Dungeon, Chapter 51, Fan Fiction, by Azazyel. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for listening and patreon.com/Azazyel to read all of his stories. After setting up some nice plans with Belle for us to have a simple date the following day, I spent the night thoroughly slaking my lusts upon Beatrice and even picked her up to take her into Seshet's room so I could indulge in embracing both a mortal and goddess. So super early in the morning, I prepared for the date by doing something no one in Orario had seen before. First, I encased the entire large property in glass blocks with the roof of the glass walls forming a sort of peak, so no one could sneak onto the property at all, as each time we left, the only way out would be using the locked door I made in the glass structure. And with no one having a key to the place, they had no way to get into the area unless they could teleport somehow. Then with the whole area encased in a glass structure so no one could mess with our property, I did what I had been dreaming of lately and planted the gem acorns around the glass walls to act as a kind of bush and privacy fence, along with planting a circle of ruby gem acorns surrounding a nice little gazebo I created over the course of a couple hours before the sun even rose. But in the hours that I had been working to make a whole date destination, as I knew going out into Orario right now was a fool's dream with how Evelys attacked, the gem acorns fully grew into Terraria gem trees. I now had gem trees of all materials. Ruby gem trees that had fist-sized apples hanging from their stone and gem-encrusted branches scattered across the property. All the other gem trees I planted across the property also grew with diamonds, sapphires, topaz, emeralds, and other gems, creating a rainbow atmosphere around the property. Well, this is likely to get more attention, but oh well, I muttered uncaringly as I went back inside the tower and shop to get a shower so I could be ready for whenever Belle was ready for such a date. Even as I went inside to get cleaned up, I definitely noticed people standing outside the glass walls that protected my property, looking at the gleaming trees that reflected the rising sun's light that was starting to crest over Orario's large walls. After I got out of the shower and just generally cleaned up after myself, I went and knocked on Belle's door as I knew she was going to be the first one up, as I had assuredly tired out Beatrice and Seshet, to say nothing of how lazy and prone to sleeping in Hestia was. In the midst of my knocking, I heard Belle faintly call for me to just come in, so I shrugged and opened the door to see how she was doing. Hopefully, she wasn't being a bundle of nerves and actually got some sleep last night. "Goddess. Why you waking me up so early?" Belle mumbled as she sat up, and as did her loose sleeping shirt drifted. No, that was one of my damn dress t-shirts, and a large shirt slid down her shoulders exposing a bountiful display of cleavage as Belle just rocked in place as her unfocused eyes blinked away her sleep. "Belle, it's me. You should wake up and get ready early. I got a breakfast date planned for us so the goddesses don't spoil it," I explained, and hearing my voice, Belle stilled as her eyes finally focused on me, seemingly shivering in the cool room air as her upper body escaped her thick blankets as well as her shirt almost slipping off. She realized her state of dress in front of me as her shirt was literally being held up by her breasts at this point. "I will be making breakfast, Belle," I said, closing the door after seeing how a blush traveled up Belle's chest, up her neck, and eventually covering her face in a rosy glow. So rather than put pressure on her, I just left the room as I went to the kitchen to make us both breakfast. 5 minutes later, Belle came out dressed in another backless dress, but this one having a longer skirt that actually went down almost to her knees instead of most of them going mid-thigh, and wearing shorts under them. "What do you like with your eggs?" I asked Belle as she came to stand beside me as I was cooking, and silently, she just laid her head against my shoulder and held my free arm before she took a moment to speak. "I like mushrooms, ham, and tomatoes if that isn't too much work." She spoke softly, and I just removed my arm she was holding so I could just wrap my arm around her waist and pull her into a halfway hug as my other hand took ingredients out of my inventory I stuffed into there for making actual meals in the dungeon whenever I wanted. I hummed softly as Belle just hugged onto me as I went about basically making a lighter full English breakfast with the beans, sausage links, breakfast ham slices, fried chunks, and lastly, just for a bit of sweetness, I switched around the toast to instead do French toast. "Jake. Is this what love feels like?" Belle asked softly, and she refused to meet my eyes that snapped to her as she continued to speak. "I feel the warmth holding you, matching the heat coming off the stove, and the thought of letting you go. To even go sit alone down at the table just to watch your back as you cook makes me feel cold already. Not only that, but the smell of the food just feels even better when it mixes with your scent as I hold you," Belle explained with a weight of thick emotion in her voice. "Damn, she has it bad," I thought wryly, but in response, I squeezed her around the waist, drawing her frame tightly against me for a moment, but as I loosened my grasp, she let out an ever so minuscule whimper of loss at the sensation of being tightly held by me. "I am not sure, Belle. I do like you, and I would like to explore that though," I replied gently as I began plating our food together, and Belle took a deep breath as she saw her plate ladled up with food. Now, Belle, let's go outside. I made a nice little picnic area for us to eat and take in the sights. At my mention of the sights, Belle's head cutely tilted to the side, but she didn't argue with me. While I put the plates of food in my inventory so they wouldn't cool down or possibly get dropped, so I could take Belle's hand into my own as we left the shop and tower, going outside onto the enclosed property. Thus, with the morning sunlight filling the glass-enclosed property, the first thing Belle saw as was walked hand in hand onto the property were trees made out of stone with large gleaming gems reflecting the sun's light breaking through the bark in places, while gems in all shapes hung from the trees like fruits made out of the earth's most precious tears. "It's so beautiful, Jake. Did you do this for me?" Belle asked breathlessly as she looked up to me, and I silently dipped down in and, like she did last night, but even further, I stole a kiss from her very lips before I pulled back to look down at the blushing beauty that was all but leaning against me. "What better date could there be than one surrounded by nature never seen before by mortals," I said as I squeezed Belle's hand in my own as I gently nudged her to follow me into the gazebo so we could enjoy our breakfast surrounded by ruby gem trees, giving us a bit of privacy as Orario civilians came to gawk at the Seshet Familia's latest bullshit feat.